Okay, we're going to try something a little bit different here. I'm going to turn and face the camera real quick. We're going to try something a little bit different here today. I'm going to show more of the stuff and less of me because, that's kind of what, that's the devil because I've got a face for radio. So we'll do this today and see how this works. We're at Hazor. It's an ancient Canaanite city. It's the largest tell in Israel. A tell is an archaeological mound where layers upon layers of old cities have been. This is a significant place because it was here. It's one of the towns that Joshua captured. So there's some high places where there's some altars where the Canaanites worshipped and where the Israelites, they fell into idolatry, they would worship here. But right here, this is the main thing I want you to see. These are some Solomonic gates. These gates date back to the time of Solomon. So they're very ancient, very old, and these are gates that date back to Solomon's time. You can see the stones, the ancient stones particularly right there. You see the modern, those are recreations, but those are more ancient stones right there. So this gate, this is where the elders would be, and they would judge you see the Old Testament notion of the elders at the city gates. So these would be the gates into Hazor. So this is Hazor. Okay, we're going into Dan. Dan is an ancient site. I'll take some more video when we get to Dan, but here's what I want you to see right here. If you can see that down there, that's that water there. Our joke about it that the Jordan River would be called a creek if it was the Mississippi. You see, it's not going to be as big as we think it is sometimes, but this is the headwaters of the Jordan River. Here's an even better image of the headwaters right here. Right here, this is the main spring of the Dan River, which helps form Jordan. So can be some of the headwaters of the Jordan River because it's where the Dan is, and it flows into the Jordan River, forming the Jordan River. So this is the main spring. This is an ancient recreation of the ancient altar here at Dan, where the Northern Kingdom would offer altering. So this was almost a recreation. It looks kind of like, well, obviously the metal's modern, but this is what it would have been. They tried to be a replica of what the temple had. So the Northern Kingdom residents would come and worship here instead of going to Jerusalem, which is in the Southern Kingdom. Okay, this road right here, that is the border between Israel and Lebanon. You look over there. That's a UN compound on the Lebanese side. You can see kind of up on the mountain of some Lebanese villages. You see some more things up there. And this Syria is basically on the other side of this mountain range. So we're very close to Syria as well. This gate here the Canaanite gate, goes back to Abraham's time. And we can't say for sure, but there's a decent chance Abraham came through this gate when he rescued Lot in Genesis 14. At Banyas. We're fixing to go up and look at that in just a second. This outside of Jerusalem, outside of Church of the Holy Sepulchre, outside of Church of Divinity, this is my favorite place in all the Holy Land.
Don't walk in the camera.
Sam's very kind to me and lets me teach here on this. This you're very familiar with the story I'm going to read to you, but I want you to. You ever heard the phrase, the contempt of familiarity? Sometimes the more you hear something, the less you pay attention to it. So listen to this, but pretend like you never heard it. Just listen. This is from Matthew 16. When Jesus came to the district of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They said, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, still others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets." He said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You're the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus answered him, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter. On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it." Okay, so that's Peter's declaration of Jesus Christ as the Messiah. And there's a lot of things we can unpack there. But real quick, the reason why you need to come to Israel is to see the land and to understand the importance the land plays and the sites play what Scripture is. Please go up there on the mountain. You see that big cave there? Okay. You'll also go beside it. You'll see a temple a shrine to Pan, the Roman god Pan, who who, if you remember what Pan did from your mythology, Pan was the guardian of the underworld. If you got too close, he would set you in a frenzy. You would be a panic. Okay, so see that cave there? That cave has been here forever, and they filled it in the corresponding years. But in Jesus' day, that cave was incredibly deep and incredibly dark, and coming out of that cave, it smelled of sulfur. You know what Scripture and Jewish tradition says hell smells like? Look at the gates of hell. In the Jewish tradition, in the culture of Jesus' day, you're looking at the gates of hell. So what did Jesus just say there? He said, "You're right, son of Jonah. It's not revealed to you by man, but by my Father. And the gates of hell will not triumph against this church." He said that in front of the gates of hell. How awesome is that, y'all? I mean, the fact that he said, y'all, you see that thing right there, that scary thing, that place you don't want to go to, that place that you're afraid of, you can smell it, that place right there, the place of hell, it will not triumph against my church. Right there. Every time we come here, we remember not just that Peter confessed Christ as the Messiah, which is a big stinking deal. Sam and I are both revealing our affinity for Kierkegaard today. Kierkegaard said the hardest thing for anyone to do in any age is to confess Christ as Lord. It was incredibly hard for the disciples to lay down their nets and follow. It's incredibly hard for me and you to lay down our metaphorical or literal nets and follow. Following Jesus is always a hard thing to do. So not only did Peter confess and follow, then Jesus says, "You're right." And the gates of hell, that place right there that you're looking at, it will not triumph against this church. This morning we talked at Hazor about living in the world and not being conformed. I like coming here because it reminds me of this. The church needs to stop acting like a scared dog with his tail between his legs. You hear me? I'm not saying we pick fights with culture. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I say the other thing. We know how the story ends. I'm not afraid of culture. I'm not afraid of the world because we know how the story ends. We win, y'all. I tell my folks that St. Matthew's is all the time. I tell them this all the time. I've got a really big problem, y'all, that I need to confess. You know what my problem is? I believe this stuff. I actually believe that God raised Christ from the dead. So what am I going to be afraid of? I serve a God that conquered death. Why are we scared? Why are we afraid? We should be Wesley said we should be the most joyful of all people. For if we put our faith in God and do our job, the results are in His hands. The gates of hell will not triumph against Christ and His church. The church now more than ever needs to hear that and believe that. It's all good. Don't be afraid. The world wants us to stop being afraid. Because if we're acting afraid of everything, we act like we have faith. By the way, that's not to say that there aren't things to be afraid of. Cancer's scary. War's scary. I'm not saying there aren't big things out there. I'm saying this. Jesus is bigger. And so the gates of hell will not triumph against Christ and His church. So when you go up there and you look at the gate of hell, you see the temple to Pan. Remember, that happened here. Happened here. I don't know actually right here, but happened here. Don't be afraid. Live in the freedom that God gives you. I know we're going to get a chance to go up there now or in a moment. Okay, this is the road into Bethsaida. Bethsaida was a village that was the home of Peter and Andrew and Philip. You see the ruins of the city there. There's a fishing village. But here's what's significant. This right here quotes the Bible passage. We know for 100% certainty that Jesus was here. There's no doubt scripturally Jesus was in this place, and this is the actual street going to town. So this is one of those places that we are certain. We know that we know that we know that we know Jesus walked on the street. So stones here, things here, we know that Jesus touched these things. These are places. This right here is one of those places that we know that we know that we know that we know Jesus was here. I wanted to share one last video with you. This is the Sea of Galilee, laid out before us as we walk down the Mount of the Beatitudes. Just a truly stunning picture of a beautiful place. Okay, this is the traditional spot where Jesus withdrew to get away from the crowds to pray. From this, he could look out and see the disciples when they were in the storm afraid, and this is the place traditionally where he was praying alone. He came here to withdraw to pray. He also left here to walk on the water. So this is the spot that happened. This is the well of the leper. This is where Jesus told the leper to go and wash to show yourself clean after he had healed him.